All right, so here we are a couple weeks out from archery elk season. The plan here today is take you through a pack dump of how I set my pack up for archery elk season. To start off, this is the K4 5000. This is the primary bag that I run. I do have an Exo Mountain Gear 3000 as well, smaller bag that I'll occasionally use. But typically I'm sticking with the 5000 because as you can see, it cinches down really small and fits everything I need for day hunting, up to 3 to 4 nights in the backcountry, and in very rare occasions do we stay more than 3 or 4 nights in one spot before we're moving and going back to a base camp where we could reload on supplies. So I'm going to start going through just pulling stuff out of this bag, showing you kind of where I store things and what I like to bring with me for archery elk season. So to start off, there's a few accessories that I have added to this Exo K4 5000, and that is a hip belt pouch. I run that typically on my left hip. And in that hip belt pouch, I always store my headlamp. That's going to be my main thing. For me, that's something I typically always need to grab when it starts getting dark and I don't want to take my pack off. I don't want to have to dig through this top compartment. It's just always in my hip belt pouch. And what I'm running here is just a Petzl Tactica. And what I like about this headlamp is it has a rechargeable battery. This is the core battery from Petzl. So I can recharge that. It has a great battery life. I can also run 3 AAA batteries. So I run this battery. If that battery runs out, I keep AAA batteries in my bag and I can always reload with those. So again, headlamps always in my left hip belt pouch. And then in here during archery season, I'll keep an external cow call. That's easy and accessible. And a lot of times when I'm out in the field, I'm gonna have that around my neck, probably tucked into my bino harness. But I keep that in the left hip belt pouch for just easy storage. And then also on my left or right side, I run the Nalgene holder. So I'm always going to run a Nalgene bottle in that holder. It's a very convenient location. Even on my left-hand side, I've never had that get in the way of drawing my bow or doing anything with my bow on that left-hand side. And that's going to be convenient for drinking, filling up, mixing any powders or drinks that I want throughout the day. And then continuing on my left side of the bag, that's where I'm going to keep my trekking poles. I typically always bring trekking poles unless it's a short, like half day in and out. But if I'm going in for a full day and we're going in typically 3 to 4 miles, I'm going to bring trekking poles and be prepared for a pack out. So I'll pull these out here. These are going to be the Archery Guide X trekking poles, which are a combination of aluminum and carbon fiber. So they kind of give you the benefits of carbon fiber in lightweight and the strength of aluminum. And aluminum is going to bend rather than break if they're put in a bad position. So one unique thing you can see about the trekking poles here is I do run the quick sticks for rifle season, which will allow me to create a shooting bipod essentially that I can get up higher off the ground. That has been convenient in a number of rifle hunting situations. So I'm going to run these trekking poles, and those are going to be on my left-hand side. Typically not used except for pack outs, or maybe if we're coming in and out some very steep terrain before or after dark, because otherwise I'm going to have my bow in my hand. But if it's before dark or before daylight or after dark, then I might have my bow strapped to my pack and I'm going to be using the trekking poles. And inside the trekking poles, so those were tucked into the side pouch here of the pack. I also have a vertical pocket on both sides of the 5000, And on that left side, the same side as the trekking poles, is where I'm going to run a tripod. 90% of the time, I am going to have a tripod with me, unless if I'm on the Oregon coast or the Washington coast. I'm hunting Roosevelt's in an area that I know well, that's very thick country, and it's going to be very minimal glassing or very close range glassing. Then I'm going to leave the tripod at home, or in the truck I should say, and I will probably glass off the trekking pole with the Argali adapter, just to get a little more steady on that. But a lot of hunts, I love having that tripod. Elk hunts, even if we're going to be glassing, you know, up to a mile in distance, even with a 10 power bino and a very steady tripod, you can glass a long ways and pick up elk pretty darn well. So the majority of the time I am going to have that tripod with me. And again, that's tucked in this vertical pouch on my left hand side, with the trekking poles on the outside there. So that's going to be everything for my left hand side of my pack. So one other thing I'm going to show here, in between the bag and the frame, sometimes I will slip a glassing pad. So this, I typically don't bring this in the early season, just because I'm not spending a lot of time static glassing, but this is actually in here from rifle season from last year. So anytime in a later season hunt, I'm going to pack a glassing pad, and I've just found that to be a convenient place right in between the bag and the frame, and you can cinch that in there. So we will start moving around now to the right hand side of the pack, so over on my right, and that's always where I keep my bugle tube. If I'm not using it at the moment, it's going to be tucked in the pack like this, which a lot of times I can reach back with one hand and just pull it out like that. So this is the Unleashed version 2, which is the bugle tube that I primarily use if I'm quite a ways away from the truck. I do love the original Unleashed as well for sound and back pressure, but this Unleashed version 2 has almost the same volume and sound as the original Unleashed, but as you can tell, it's a lot smaller package. And just especially on pack outs, which you have all the other stuff. That Unleashed version 2 is going to be on my right hand side. If we're not calling, we're hiking at the moment, it's probably going to be tucked in there. If not, I'm just going to have it around and down on the inside the shoulder strap of the pack, so it stays there and it's not rattling around, but where I can easily get to it and call quickly and easily. So that's going to be on my right hand side. And then now, the majority of the time during early season, I'm not taking a spotting scope, so I don't have anything else in terms of optics on this right hand side vertical pouch here. But down at the very bottom is where I'm going to run my water filter. I just have that tucked all the way down out of the way. This is the Platypus. It's very similar to a Sawyer squeeze. So you fill up the dirty bag, you attach the filter, and you just squeeze it either straight into your Nalgene or into a water bladder, which I do run both just so I can fill up a lot and I don't have to fill up as often throughout the day. So Platypus water filter, and that's going to be way down in on my bottom right hand side of the pack. All right, so kind of finishing the hip area and hip belt, you can see on this right hand side I do run a holster and a handgun. The majority of the time during archery season, I prefer having a handgun with me for bear defense or cougar defense, even in black bear country. Corey and I were actually hunting on the Washington coast years ago, and I shot a black bear at under 10 yards that came into our cow calling. And I had a black bear tag at the time, but that just kind of showed me that at any time, you know, you can have an encounter with a predator, and it just feels better to have some protection. So this is an Alien Gear holster. and it mounts really good to the MOLLE webbing on the hip belt of the K4, and that is very secure, held in there, but I can get it out very easily. This is a Springfield Hellcat, so a very micro 9mm, and this retention holster just keeps it in there very tight, and it's very small and secure on my right hand side. So I'm going to run that on my right hand hip belt, and yeah, and then over my right hand shoulder here you can see that's where I'm going to have the hose to my water bladder. A lot of times I don't run this hose all the way out. I don't like it getting in the way when I'm using my bugle tube or I'm drawing my bow. You'll see sometimes that'll hang up on a bowstring when you're drawing your bow. So a lot of times I tuck that all the way inside the pack and just get it out of the way. But right now I do have it out. When I've been doing some training hikes, I've been using it. So, and then for me, yeah, I just tuck it, when I do have it out, I tuck it right inside the webbing there on the shoulder strap. But like I said, during archery season, I just don't like it in the way flapping around, so I do put it down inside the pack commonly. All right, continuing on, we'll go into the top lid of the pack here. So all these, the 5,000 and the 3,000 of the EXO Mountain Gear packs come with a lid with multiple zipper pockets up top. So as we get into this lid, there's one small zipper pocket here. A lot of times I keep my inReach in that small zipper pocket. I always know where it's at and it's easy to get to. So that's going to be in there. And then some charging cords I keep in there, which is just going to be an iPhone charging cord and then a charging cord for the inReach. And then also in that pocket, I'll keep this is a rain cover for my bino harness, and that's just a very convenient thing to have. I hate getting my bino pack completely soaked and saturated, because then every time I put my binos in, they fog up really bad. So I do my best to keep that dry. And it seems like in the early season with just shorter rainstorms, you can accomplish that with a little bino cover. So that's going to be in that top pouch there. Those cords are just kind of in a mesh pouch and the inReach. And then in the main pocket of the lid, one of the first things I have is my charger pack. So this is the Dark Energy charger I got years ago, and it seems to work really well for 3 or 4 iPhone charges, and it'll charge the inReach very easily. When the inReach gets low, I'll just plug it in and put it all in my pack and let it charge throughout the day, and then I can charge this back at camp when needed. So also in that top pouch, top pocket of the lid, this is kind of my catch-all for all kinds of little things that I might need. I like keeping those in a pouch because otherwise some small things might fall out of that lid and I don't see them and I lose them. So I keep them all my little stuff in this pouch, and this has actually got 2 pouches inside of it. So I have another smaller one inside, and I have the original one that came out of. So in here, in this larger one, I have some fire starting supplies. So these are going to be little cotton balls soaked in Vaseline, and those, if you haven't tried that, they work outstanding for burning easily and burning for a long time. So I have some of that. I have some dry toilet paper. A lot of times what I'm using that for is wiping off like wet optics. So my binoculars when they're very wet, and I've noticed like a microfiber when it's wet just moves that water around, so I use something absorbent like some toilet paper. And then this is another little fire starter that I carry. If you haven't tried this, it's like a little wax fire starter. You can find it just at Walmart or Sportsman's Warehouse, but comes in a pack of 5 or 6 of them, and they work outstanding, so I keep that. And then I keep an extra breeze squeeze in my pouch at all times, and that's something I'm using so often throughout the day in archery elk season that if I do, if my other one gets low, you'll notice when they get low, they'll still work, but they don't work nearly as well. So I'll swap out to the backup one, and that's one of the first things I make sure to restock when I'm back at the truck, to make sure I always have a good spare one. So those things are gonna be, like I said, in that main pouch. And then outside of that, I pulled this little pouch, and it's gonna have all kinds of other just little things that I may need. But again, I don't want them just loose in the body of the pack, or even loose up in the lid where they might fall out. So this is a Petzl E Plus headlamp. So this is actually the smallest, most mini spare headlamp that I could find. Awesome little headlamp. I've used it actually on multiple occasions, but it's really small, straps on, and just provides enough light that in a pinch it can be a backup headlamp, and it stays waterproof in this little pouch, and just fits really small inside of the pack, which I like. So I'm gonna have that in this little pouch. Another little, and this is just in a plastic baggie to keep it waterproof. So what I have in here is I have a lighter, I have some D-loop cord for my bow. So if my D-loop goes bad, I can tie a new D-loop. So I have a piece that's probably 12 inches long. I have 3 AAA batteries, which, as I talked about with my headlamp, if that core rechargeable battery goes dead, I can replace it with 3 AAAs that are in here. I have a rangefinder battery, so a spare rangefinder battery, which I always keep on me. Let's see what else. And looks like the only other thing I have in here is the patch kit that came with my sleeping pad. So it's really small, I just keep it in here at all times. Thankfully I haven't had to use that yet. So those are in here. I keep a SD card reader that attaches to an iPhone. If we get a shot on video and we want to review it, we use that. I also use it to check trail cams when I'm out in the field. Some states still have a paper license, so I'm going to keep that inside this little pouch as well. I always keep a couple spare reeds. So right now I have the, looks like a Maverick, an Amp Maverick Phelps game calls in here. I'm usually going to have a couple, whether it's a white, pitch black 2, or the Maverick are my 3 go-tos. And then the Archery adapter. So what I talked about with the trekking pole is sometimes I'm not going to carry the tripod if there's not going to be much glassing available, and I'm going to use this adapter and I'm going to screw it onto the top of the trekking pole, and then I'm going to use my binos with the ASIAC clamp, and it also threads onto this. So now I have a monopod with very steady bino, and I can glass in a lot of different areas. You guys will also see a lot of times we run our cameras, our video cameras, off this Archery adapter on the trekking pole as well. Very lightweight, convenient thing, and that's it. That's all the little things that are in the top of the pack and in the 2 little pouches. And that is everything that's typically in the top of my bag. I might have car keys. I try typically not to have my car keys on me. A lot of times I keep them in a hidden place, I should say. But I just don't want to lose them or lose place of them out in the field. But if I do, or I have my wallet or anything like that, that's going to be in the lid somewhere. But that's kind of the mainstay, is what I showed you, or the mainstays, the things that always stay in the lid. So now moving down, so I showed you guys the tube from my water bladder, and that there's a top zipper access on these bags into the water bladder compartment. So there is a connection basically that holds that water bladder up, a little Velcro connector here. So I'm gonna have a 3-liter platypus. Back in the day, I think I only had a 2-liter, but to me, if you have a 3 liter, you can always fill it up with only 2 liters, and the weight difference is, I mean, you can't even measure it, I don't think. So I always just run a 3 liter. I can fill it up as needed. So I'm going to have that down in the compartment that it's made for. And also, I use this storage pouch a lot. It's away from the main bag. It's very protected, and that's what's designed to put your water bladder in. So reaching down in there, the main thing I keep in there is my kill kit. So this is going to be my kill kit, and why I put it down there, it's more protected. The outside of my pack can get a little bit wet, and this is not going to get wet. Plus I have it in a waterproof bag. But a kill kit is something you don't use until you harvest an animal. So I just want it out of the way, and I want it somewhere where it's not going to get accidentally taken out at camp, taken out at the truck. So I have another one of these bags like I had in the lid, but a larger one. And inside of that, I'm going to have everything I need to take care of an animal and get it out of the field. So first thing I have is my knife. I'm running the Archery fixed blade. This is the Serac. So perfect knife, in my opinion, for backcountry hunting. It's got enough of a handle. I have fairly large hands. My hand fits nicely. It's just got the perfect size blade for quartering an elk, skinning, getting those bones popped on the joints. I do everything with this knife right here. I do keep a small work sharp field sharpener. It's just great. I usually will get through about half an elk, and then I will touch that blade up a little bit. I'll clean it off, and I'll just touch it up with the ceramic portion of this sharpener, and that just brings that edge back enough that it'll do the other side really well. And you could get away with doing, a whole elk as long as your knife is very sharp, but to me, then it's harder to get that edge back on the knife. So I want to just touch it up and keep it nice and sharp and cutting really well. And so those are the two things that are going to come out of the kill kit, as well as some rubber gloves. I'm always going to have rubber gloves in here. It's not that I'm a neat, clean freak and I don't want blood on my hands, but a lot of times we don't have water very accessible. We might be in bear country, and I just don't want to deal with having to clean my hands off, so I'm going to run rubber gloves. And the last thing in the kill kit is just going to be my game bags. So this is the Archery large game, and this is the meat on bone bag kit. So this is going to come with everything you need to get an entire elk out of the field. So you're going to get 4 quarter bags, and you're going to get additional smaller bags for back straps, loose meat, everything you need to take care of an elk or mule deer. And I like the larger meat on bone game bags because even if I bone out that meat in the field, if we're way back in there and we want to save weight, I can always cinch down a smaller bag. But if I use smaller boned out bags, there's no way for me to bring that meat out on the bone. And if I'm closer to the truck or closer to home, I want to bring that meat out on the bone so I can hang it and cool it, and it's just easier to work with on the bone. If you guys have boned out meat in the past, it can just get difficult. All that meat gets clumped together and it gets hard to spread it out and really let it dry and cool. So I prefer the larger bags, and this kit makes it very simple to just throw it in and you're covered. All right, so going into the main compartment of the pack. So we did the lid, we did the 2 vertical side pouches. Now we have a main compartment inside this 5000, which is accessed behind these 2 front buckles. And we also have a stretch pocket on the outside of the bag. So a lot of times inside this stretch pocket, I may have an additional layer like a rain jacket, or I may have that also inside the main compartment of the bag that we haven't got into yet. So starting off in those 2 spots inside the stretch panel, I just keep some TP for obvious reasons. So that's going to be in there all the way at the bottom. Zipper starts at the top, so if I'm getting my layer in and out or something, that just stays at the bottom. And that's the only thing that's typically in that pocket, besides, like I said, an extra layer. If I do have a bigger layer, like a lightweight jacket or a large puffy or rain pants and jacket or something, that's going to go inside this main bag, as well as a daily bag of food. We put 1 day's worth of food in a Ziploc bag like most people. And in here I just have a few of my main items that I can show, just to maybe give some people some ideas. Typically we run these Peak Refuel or Mountain House. I cycle them. Peaks obviously taste probably the best in our opinion, and they also have the most calories, but they're very expensive. So I'll cycle those in and out, but I'll have a Peak for nighttime. Sometimes I have that with me in my daily bag. Other times I have it at the truck or at camp because I know I'm not going to make my dinner till I get back there. And then also inside, like my day's worth of food, these Pro Bar meals I really like. This is the peanut butter chocolate chip, and relatively small bar, and it's 400 calories. So pretty small, 400 calories, which is a lot of bang for your buck there. And to me, they taste pretty darn good. So this is a Pro Bar meal. So that's just a few ideas of things that I'm gonna have in my bag. And that's that, like I said, with some additional clothing layers. It's gonna be one of the only main things that I keep inside the main compartment. And then on this 5000, on the horseshoe zipper of the main compartment, there's a small zipper on the back side. And lastly, the thing I keep in there is a first aid kit. And I have a few things I've added to this first aid kit. One of the most important things is going to be cord. So I'm not sure what diameter this is, but it's a really high strength cord. I have quite a bit of it here, and that's going to be to hang meat if I need to. So I have that available at all times if we are back somewhere where we need to hang meat and maybe return in the morning to hike all of it out. So I'm going to keep that in the first aid kit pouch. I do carry a tourniquet, something I didn't have in my pack for a lot of years, but recently added one. Fairly lightweight. They are pretty easy to use, and I have cut myself a couple times. I've seen and heard of people stabbing themselves in the back of the leg with broadheads, all kinds of things where you could have arterial type bleeding, where a tourniquet could be life-saving. And they're fairly easy to use, so it's something I keep in my first aid kit. So some extra buckles for my pack. If a buckle was to break, I have that available. That has not happened. And then this is just a little med kit. So this is a little med 0.5 kit. You can get these on any Black Ovis or any outdoor shop. I think they even have them at like Sportsman's Warehouse. This is going to have some of your regular stuff in here. The only thing I've added to it is Quick Clot. This is the normal Quick Clot that you can buy, and I've just slid that into the bag, and everything else is just what normally comes in this little 0.5 med kit. And really that's it. That's how I'm going to keep my pack set up, and that's going to be for a day hunt situation. Like I said, food bag, and I'm going to kind of dial that maybe up or down depending on how vigorous the hunt is. It's going to be just going in and more glassing focused, or if we're going to be covering 10 to 12 miles, I might adjust how much fuel I have in that. But yeah, now lastly, I'm going to show a few things that I will add to my pack if we're going to stay a few nights in the backcountry. So, all right, now we're going to go over the last few things here, starting with my bino pack, and then the things we add on a overnight backpacking trip. So this is a Marsupial Gear Small, In here I have Swarovski 10x42 ELs. These have the AZIAC Bino clamp, which is by far the easiest and most convenient way we've found to attach the binos to the tripod. No additional adapter needed. And as I mentioned earlier, I can thread the trekking pole with the Argali adapter into the bottom of this clamp and glass off of this pretty steady when I don't bring my tripod. On the right side of this bino pack, I'm going to have a wind checker always. And then again on my right hand side I have my rangefinder. That's a SIG Kilo 5K, great archery and rifle combination rangefinder. And then on my left side here, because I'm going to reach in with my right hand, is a Phelps Game Calls pouch. And in here I'm going to have a couple different reeds, usually 2 or 3. Phelps Pitch Black amp. This is Pitch Black number 2, is one of my favorites. I'm usually going to have a white amp, and then I happen to have a Maverick in here as well. So I'm going to have reeds in this right hand pocket. That's going to be my bino setup that I wear during archery season. And then what we add to the pack when we're going on an overnight trip, pretty simple. So we're going to have a shelter. This is the Argali Rincon 2-person tent. This has got tent body and stakes. And what we love about this setup is that we don't have any sort of pole system that we have to bring. So we're going to use our trekking poles to set up this 2-person tent. It has plenty of room for 2 guys in gear. So that's going to go in the pack. My sleep system, the main part of that is going to be this Katabatic Gear 22-degree quilt. So this is a down 22-degree quilt. It can really cinch down to about half this size if needed, but great for all the way down to freezing, below freezing temperatures, depending on what clothing you have and you're going to sleep in. So that, and then the sleeping pad. This is the Big Agnes Q-Core SLX. This is an insulated pad, and then in the pocket of the pad I'm gonna have a little inflatable pillow. So this is a Sea to Summit tiny little inflatable pillow. I just keep those all together in one. Overnight, especially if it's going to be multiple days, I'm going to bring an additional water pouch, water bladder basically. This is a 4-liter. I can fill this up and then just take it to camp and keep it for camp water. That's going to be for freeze-dried meals or oatmeal or coffee in the morning before we leave camp for the day, and that makes it convenient. I don't have to fill up as often. I can have my morning or evening dinner and meal and then keep my water ready for the next day. So that's going to go with me. And then this is kind of on an as-needed basis. So this is the Exo Mountain Gear dry bag that specifically fits inside the main bag of the 5,000 pack. So I'm going to use that especially if the weather forecast shows rain, snow, or anything that's going to get gear wet and push us out of the backcountry sooner. So keeping everything dry and staying comfortable is one of the things that's going to keep you in there longer. So I'm no problem with the extra weight if it keeps us comfortable and in our hunting area for a longer period of time. So really those, looks like I do have my jet boil here. That's going to go in. Usually we're going to only bring one jet boil between 2 to 3 guys. So this is the jet boil that I use. I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's fairly light and everything packs up nicely like all jet boils. I've used this one for 3 seasons now. It's worked great. And so yeah, I'm going to bring that along obviously for warming up water and cooking. But that is the main additions. Outside of that, you're just going to have more bags of food. And that's what takes up the most space inside these hunting packs is your daily bags of food. So anything you can do to repackage, taking the peak refuels out of those big packages, putting them in smaller Ziploc bags, boiling water. There's a few different theories out there and ways to just compress and reduce your daily food bags down to the smallest packages possible, because that's really where you're going to run into the issues, especially on later season hunts, where there's more layers involved to keep you warm, and a lot of food is you're just going to start running out of space in your bag. But as mentioned, the Exo Mountain Gear K5000, it's just the right size for 3 to 4 nights, which that 3-night length is really what we like. If we haven't killed an animal, we're going to come back and restock, or we're going to move areas. So yeah, hopefully those tips and tricks and just kind of how I lay things out will help you guys as you're packing up for September here. Because as I mentioned, we're under 2 weeks out. And if any of those nuggets will help you guys out, that would be great. So let's get after it. I hope everyone has a great season, and it's almost go time.